Good morning, race fans, and welcome back to St George for the Trophy Day Sunday here at the 2025 KMC Wheels St George 399. Of course, round 4 of the BF Goodridge Motorsports Australia Off-Road Championship and round 2 of the Queensland Motorsport Australia Off-Road Championship here this weekend. And yes, today's the day. Today the champions will be crowned, and on the line is our first car away. In only around 2.5 minutes' time, it is the 413 Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt. Tremendous performance yesterday from the ABR crew. Like they left the Loveday 4x4 Adventure Park only a few weeks ago. Of course, Travis got the upper hand there. There's only 27 seconds between the pair here. Travis Robinson, of course, Bo's younger brother, will roll up to the grid in the 813, the all-wheel drive Mason, very shortly. A dramatic, sad day it was. Of course, it all started with the unfortunate end-to-end incident for Glenn Ackroyd and Mick Price. A few drinks with them last night at the local premises, and they said they were all okay. Little pride hurt, but they'll be back in the bandwagon. That might be their season done, I'd think, but glad that everything's okay. Testament to the GRC Motorsport roll cage in that one, in the Can-Am Maverick R. Jared Percival, tremendous run yesterday for him in third spot. And then Brent Smoothie finishing in fourth. Sort of around 3 minutes behind the speed of Percival. He did have a bit of dust to contend with yesterday, so I expect him to have a nice run today. And Kai Camilleri, interesting enough, had no brakes for apparently well over 100 kilometres yesterday. Split a brake line during that first opening lap. So I expect Kai Camilleri, see some footage there of Jared Percival, Brent Smoothie. It's been a fascinating 2025 season in the ORC, and Western Australia have completely dominated it to date. Boston Morgan Horan, about 15 Ks in yesterday. Of course, he won the prologue yesterday, Saturday morning. He blew a rear diff early on that lap one, so that put him out of outright contention. The good news, though, for those following the Kiwi star, he's on the grid this morning out of around 11th position, so we'll see Boston Morgan Horan out here today, which is great news for all spectators. So I reckon around 30 seconds now to go before our Sunday gets underway. Get yourself trackside if you're within the St George region. Massive thanks to Motorsport Australia, of course. KMC Wheels, our major sponsor this weekend. BF Goodridge for their support of the championship. First car away, looking an absolute treat once again on the line. The ABR Racing two-wheel drive Mason trophy truck, Robinson and Hart, the 413, about to get their Sunday cracking. And it's a dream position to be in for the ABR crew. We'll keep you up to date with all information as they come to hand. Great drone shots again. Get on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen, those watching at home, share it around, tag your friends, let's get it out there. It's good, great stuff brought to you from the production team here at St George. So a nice start for Robinson. This is exactly where he wants to be. He used the word managed a couple of times in his ORC interview yesterday with the guys at Motorsport Australia, and that is a big word of the day, managed. They're in a spot now where they can afford to do that. Travis knows where Jared needs to be to keep that momentum going. But don't get me wrong, I'm sure Travis would like to make it 3 in a row here this weekend. He's next off the line in the 813. This is the all-wheel drive Mason, Robinson and Paul Curry. Of course, long-time competitors. The Gymco days are done for Robinson, and he's in the Mason this weekend. And geez, he's had a tremendous last couple of months. The big win at the Fink Desert Race, got that one off the back. And a domination of the Loveday 400 in South Australia only a few weeks ago, and he's well and truly on his way here towards another podium finish. But a long way to go in this one, shy 270 race kilometres left today. So all the best to our two OBR guys, Bo and Travis Robinson, leading us off. Jared Percival now rolls up to the grid, the first of our pro cars here on Sunday. Joshua Howard in the navigator seat. Good to see Joshy over here from Perth. First time competing in Queensland for these guys. And they have the 2 on that Element Prodigy for a reason. So for those watching on in South Australia, here's your man flying the Element flag very nicely. You can see Bo Robertson for the first time heading over the Parker Whoops. Percival, it's his Sunday underway, and I'm sure he's stoked to be where he is. And as I said yesterday, he's a cool, calm, collected competitor. He knows exactly what he needs to do here, and if he can keep those Robinsons in sight, you just never know in this extraordinary sport we call off-road racing. Anything is possible. See Bo overrun that corner. He sort of snuck up on the inside there, but he's off and running. So too Jared Percival. Now onto the line. Another one of our interesting competitors here. He didn't have the best of runs in his words yesterday. Another one of our all-wheel drive Mason trophy trucks. The 847. Currently sitting in that 4th spot. Sort of around 3 minutes 10 seconds off the pace of Jared Percival. He needs a big run here to haul in that podium position. We're off a 3rd outright at the Loveday 400. Anything is possible for Mr. Brent Smoothie. The 813 Robinson and Curry. Conservative run yesterday, all his words. They used the first lap as a bit of a look lap. Track's definitely more defined after those 2 laps yesterday, so I'm sure the times will be a lot quicker this morning. Perfect conditions here at Brookdale. St George 399, of course, thanks to the McIntyre Agriculture for all their support, giving us the land to run on here. Fast track owners as well at the other venues for the 399 since the inaugural one back in 2017. So some awesome footage there of our Travis Robinson and Paul Curry entry heading off into the distance on his first lap. Kai Camilleri, the next of our pro cars, mentioned earlier, I believe over nearly 100 kilometres with no brakes at all yesterday in the Jimco. So put that in the car this morning. I expect Kai Camilleri and Lukey Hendry to really amp up the pace here. So I expect their times to substantially quicker this morning. So all the best to Kai Camilleri. I know regardless of the issues yesterday, he'd be pretty stoked to be sort of in that top 5 and well and truly on the hunt for a maiden national podium finish. So Red Nut Racing should have a nice run in there behind Brent Smoothie, and that's just where he wants to be, I think, heading into 3 long laps today. Greg Campbell, this is another great story of Saturday. Prologued well down the track in 20th position, which wasn't a bad run for Greg Campbell yesterday. Got some in-car here of Bo Robinson for those watching on at home. Greg Campbell and Ryland Burt. I saw a Facebook release there last night. It's actually Ryland Burt in the navigator seat there for Greg Campbell this weekend. Tori Campbell didn't make the trip up from Sydney, so all the best to Greg and Ryland there in car 651, the first of our side-by-side, 6th outright. As I said, tremendous run them there for those guys yesterday out of that starting position 20. But right on his heels is Lachlan Bailey. Car of Robinson here, and we have a very different perspective. 701 of Hank Parker yesterday. See how busy they are already. Shane Hart throwing around some orders there with his right mitt. The 34 working well through towards Parker Whoops there. Camilleri and Hendry, and the next of our side-by-side pros off the line. Lockie Bailey, Jordan Zolo in the 622. So interestingly here, he's only around that 29 seconds off the pace of Mr. Greg Campbell. So we'll keep an eye on the side-by-side pro battle here. Also side-by-side championship now with the retirement of Mr. Glenn Ackroyd yesterday is well and truly alive here. There's nothing between Bailey and Campbell. So Young Cry, car 40, just spoke to him. What a run he had yesterday, only in the Queensland component of the event. But the Bat Spec V8 car all the way from South Africa, the man and car himself, but he's been in sort of North Lakes, Brisbane for a number of years now. Great man of the sport here in Queensland, big supporter of the Sequoia events, running single-seater this weekend in the Pro Car, starting out of position 8. It's a huge effort. Got to remind ourselves that yesterday he was out of 45th position after that flat tyre in the prologue. Greg Campbell, first of our side-by-sides, working his way nicely, conservatively approach this morning. Like he does, Campbell. He's really liking this track. He's had a good record here at St George over the years, and he's using that to his advantage this weekend. So Young Cry heads off. It looked like the next one off should have been the 479 of Nick Commons and Ryan Galvin. Unfortunately, though, for those guys, their weekend is over. Finished yesterday night. The spot I found a broken valve spring yesterday on that Brenthal trophy truck. So that is the end of that for Nick Commons, unfortunately, after a tremendous start to his weekend. The 818 now onto the grid, and the third of our extreme four drives, Hayden Bentley, Sam Bentley, away from Port Pirie in South Australia, of course, the two-time Fink Desert Race champion, the 2007 ORC champion, so experiencing bucket loads here for the Bentley crew. Father and son combination this weekend, and on his social media post there yesterday, a couple of little issues for Hayden Bentley and Hannah Bentley, who we'll see coming sort of in around 10 cars time. But the good news is both home and hose. Some more footage there of Lachlan Bailey. So Bentley off and running. And it's a big day in the championship hunt for Hayden Bentley. Might seem out of it, but if things can fall his way in a number of ways, you just never know for Hayden Bentley. He's always thereabouts. Not quite sure of his issues yesterday, minor setbacks, I believe, but he's our 10th car away. Hayden and Sam Bentley, and next on the line, I believe it should be young Boston Morgan Horan, the 489. So Boston is great to see him back on the grid here this morning. As I said, rear diff failure yesterday, about 14 kilometres into that run for those wondering why he's this far back. Seated into 11th position, out of outright contention, can still grab some ORC class points here this morning. We wish him all the best. That is Boston Morgan Horan and Will Haddock, all the way from Auckland in New Zealand. So great to see him back out here doing what he loves. As he said in his press conference here yesterday, he's come a long way from New Zealand to be here this weekend. So they've put a new diff in the back of that geyser, and he's back out here singing along. Likewise, our race leader, Bo Robinson, we just got another glimpse of there on the in-car. So Bentley and Morgan Horan away. John Towers is another one here that was to be out of P12 this morning. Talking to his crew last night, it sounded like a bit of melted wire there in the back of that JT Lustrum Prolight car. The ECU had a bit of damage as well from that. So the weekend over, unfortunately, for Johnny Towers and Bruce Young. We actually did lose quite a few cars yesterday. But hopefully we can get as many of these home as possible. So we see Bentley working his magic in the race, the engineering all drive trophy truck head through the Parker Whoops there, and on the line now we should see the next of our side-by-side pros, young Sam Commons. He's one of the drives of the day for me yesterday, only 15 years of age, Finished around 50 seconds off the pace of Hayden Bentley. 11th outright after day one for young Sam. Still not quite old enough to be competing in the ORC component of this event, 16 years of age. So this time next year he'll be able to compete in the ORC. But Sam Commons and Lachlan Benny from Orange in Central West New South Wales are going to fly the flag for the Westline Motorsport crew this weekend. For those watching on at home, we've got some grading car here about race leader Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt. Saw young Sam Commons off the line. Looks like things are going rosy at the moment for our OBR. Mason, 606 now to the grid. Conroy Devine, Robert Rolls is a little bit disappointed in his, almost say the car's performance yesterday. The top speed just wasn't there for young Conroy, and he's going to be another star of the future, Conroy Devine. He's a motorbike background and based there down in between Jaboomer and Bow Desert in the hinterland of the Gold Coast. It's great to see him out here at St George for the first time. A couple of strong results to start 2025, and I think we'll see a lot more of him moving forward. That's the 606, currently fourth in the side-by-side pro class, and 12th outright after the first day. But just to repeat, both Conroy Devine and Sam Commons is here for the Queensland component, so they'll just be there 2 laps this morning, and that will be their weekend done. So the 451 onto the grid, Michael Burton Nazi, another competitor that was very impressive, actually 7th outright after that first lap yesterday afternoon. Not exactly sure of the issues that he suffered from there, but he was around 7 minutes slower that second lap yesterday. Nathan Zanata in the navigator seat. Another crew from the Queensland New South Wales border over at Stanthorpe, and great to see this rush truck doing well. He's had a bit of a lean run of late, little teething issues creeping in to the truck, but Michael Bertinazzi clearly showed yesterday he's got the pace and the ability to get this vehicle around at a nice time. So expect him to maybe pull in a couple of these side-by-sides. We'll stay tuned on that. Cameron Von Bohm now on the line in the ex-Christian Reach Can-Am X3. That's 619. A few little issues yesterday for Cameron, but all sailing along nicely for him this morning. Another competitor just to be doing the Queensland component of this event. So just the 2 laps this morning, continuous. The ORC competitors will head into the pits for a 45-minute service break, then a compulsory parc fermé until the regroup for I believe about a 1 o'clock start this afternoon. So a big day of racing. Get on the live stream. Your Sunday is sorted for the KMC Wheels St George $3.99. It's great to be back. So Conroy Devine off and running. First car's about 15 minutes in, so the next sort of 10 to 11 minutes I'd expect the sight of our race leader. Michael Bertinazzi, Tyre Power rush truck doing some nice things. Justin Biggs, he's the next of our side-by-sides off the line in the 6150. Tremendous day for him yesterday. Kana Karua in the navigator seat, one of our Gold Coast-based crews. A lot of those here this weekend, and it's a little bit of a side-by-side battle here between Von Bohm, Devine and Justin Biggs. He's another one of our Queensland competitors, so this will be the last time off the line we see for Justin Biggs. Biggsy Racing, strong supporter of the Sequoia events. So he started out of position 17. Had a couple that didn't start. Nick Commons and Johnny Towers. Tommy Darlington now rolls up to the grid in the 63 Mendiola. Of course, the True Line Earth moving car that's been backed by Michael Napier over the years, now in the hands of his brother-in-law, Tommy Darlington and Nathan Winning. Strong piece of car, this one, and loves his racing. Big supporter of the Queensland events. Had a crack at Fink this year and wish Tommy Darlington all the best. And you never know with Tom Darlington. He's currently fourth in the pro buggy class heading into Sunday. So a podium might beckon here for Tommy, and we wish him all the best. And it's always a hard charge. I followed him actually alongside my mate at a recent Moriarty over the years, and he's always on the gas and not frightened to hold it hammer down. So Tommy Darlington out of position 18. The next one off the line was scheduled to be the 6140 of Zach Marsh, but Zach had some axle issues yesterday, also some fuel dramas, about 10 Ks out, which halted his run. So we won't see Zach Marsh and Richard Tazen. He was in a commanding lead in the side-by-side pro class, a couple of minutes up over Lachlan Waters, who was another that didn't make the finish. Hopefully see him out here shortly, but we'll see them around tracks very shortly. The Bentley Motorsports Racer two-wheel drive truck is on the line, the 418 of Hannah Bentley, Ben Shivel. Once again, not exactly sure that issue on that first lap for Hannah, but a second lap was quick around that 58-minute mark. So Hannah Bentley is another competitor flying the flag for the ladies, of course, this weekend in the driver's seat, and we'll expect her, another competitor that's in the ORC hunt. She's had a great season today, at 11th at Fink and a 8th place at the recent Love Day 400. Darlington through Parker Whoops. And Bentley. So she's 20th off the grid this morning. So 20 minutes down. Saw Robinson's come through around that 26, 27 minute mark here yesterday at the 50 kilometre mark. So he shouldn't be that far away from seeing those guys the next sort of 5 minutes or so. Bentley, her Sunday underway at St George, her first time competing, I believe, here at the St George 399. I know Hayden's been up here a couple of times. Jack Livingston, he'll be our next side-by-side. Miguel Alardi in the navigator seat in the 6138 Can MX3. Only fifth outright, fifth in class in the side-by-side championship for this season, so a lot to play out for Jack Livingston. I think he had a pretty clean run yesterday. Started, I think, no, he had a little issue because he got back past Hank Parker on our live stream. It was a good bit of footage captured by our production crew. And Jack Livingston, another young gun that's just starting out in the off-road world. He's competed all races in the ORC so far with Kalgoorlie to come. So we wish him all the very best here on Sunday. Next of our two-wheel drive trophy trucks to the line, the Burt combination, Nick and Alex, Mowbridge in South Australia. This is a V8 Rush truck, of course. Sound the healthiest as he crossed the line yesterday, but great to see them back on the start line. Nick Burt, another one of our competitors following the ORC for 2025. Currently fourth in the ORC class, so another weekend of horse and points. Each section counts for points in the class battle. Outright, you have to complete full race distance, so sort of out of their game at the moment, the outright points after a couple of interesting runs over the season. But great to see the Burt father and son duo out here at St George for the first time, and great supporters. Brett Comiskey now rolls up to the grid. Brett had an interesting day yesterday, I believe, run out of fuel at the end of lap 1. Looks like there might be a bit of a pause here because Brett Comiskey's definitely meant to be on the starting grid. This is not good news for Comiskey and Corey Cooper. It looks like Corey's actually getting out of the Brenthal there on the starting grid, so we'll keep an eye on that. Jack Livingston working his way over the back of the start-finish complex, about to swing it around onto Parker's Whoops for the first time on Sunday. And of course, a massive shout out to all our local St George legends who have done a huge amount of work out here on the Brookdale layout to get this event up and running. Matty Lawless now, one of our seeded competitors, in 24th spot off the grid. He had a fuel pressure sensor issue, he believes, yesterday, which cut short his weekend. He was sort of well and truly inside that top 10, and one of the sweet sounding V8s into this weekend. Matty Lawless, Clayton Callan. See some more great in-car of our WA fire protection. A few skippies running across as well, and Robinson and Shane Hutt doing very nice. Total Mind Solutions, Jimco of Matty Lawless off and running, which means, yeah, definitely no start so far for Brett Comiskey, which is not great news there for the team from the Gold Coast CMS Racing, so keep an eye on that. Another one of our side-by-sides now rolling to the grid. Matty Lawless away nicely. Bo Robinson. One of these number of fence line parts of the track here, 89 kilometres for those just joining us. Lachlan Waters is another one who snapped the rear radius arm bolt yesterday, causing a wheel to collapse. That was his drama while he was running about 6th or 7th outright at one stage, Lachlan and Kevy Waters. And second in the side-by-side class behind fellow Queenslander Zach Marsh, who we didn't see come to the track today. Great to see Lachlan Waters out here and his first run in this new P&M Maverick R build. And I expect a big showing from him today. Another just gained some valuable seat time here in the 699. And yeah, those both Waters and Lawless seeded into today's starting order. Robert Knight will be the next one on the grid, the 655. For Leonard on his left in the silly seat. Looks like Corey Cooper's back in the Brenthal. Helmet and blower are fitted. So Rob Knight should be the next car off and running in the off-road rush. NMR, Robinson and Hutt. Well, that's 25 minutes a lap. So I'm saying any time now we'll see the first of our race vehicles at the 50 kilometre mark, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a quick morning. So there we go, Comiskey away, Rob Knight, Matty Leonard. So he's about to get the Comiskey charge, I'd say, in 8:34. So lost the 2 or 3 minutes once again there for Brett Comiskey. They're still in contention both laps. Completely lost that 14 minutes in the pit area yesterday to fill up, as they say. So we wish both of those guys all the best. The next one off and running, it is Coop Weston. I believe Chris Weston in the driver's seat this morning. Oh no, I think we have a first-time navigator, Ethan Perks, in the navigator seat there, the 61 off-road rush buggy. So keep an eye on him working through the field. One of the more experienced competitors, that is for sure, in the field this weekend, Chris Weston. They broke an idler pulley yesterday on the back of that buggy when Cooper was off to a nice start on the sort of back half of that first lap. Some great drone footage there of the Robinson and Hutt Mason coming back towards us here at event headquarters. Weston and Ethan Perks are away. So they started out of 27th position on the grid. Another one of our cars to be seeded after an unfortunate Saturday. Hank Parker, People's Champion rolling onto the start line. He's got Simon Knight in the navigator seat today. Simon had an unfortunate timing chain issue yesterday, put him out early on, and here he is Bo Robinson, Shane Hutt, our leading car at the 50 kilometre mark as Parker gets his Sunday underway, and Robinson sounding as strong as ever as he comes past. I think running nicely there for Robinson. That's a 50 kilometre mark as we just seen come past, for those wondering how the track lays out. Once we see them come past, they have around that 38, 39 kilometres remaining. Looks like Comiskey's made the early pass there on Rob Knight, which is good for both crews. Rob Knight can sort of run his own race now, knowing that Comiskey's out of the way. It's an in-car for those watching on the stream of Hank Parker again. We got some Bo Robinson stuff. Not sure about Boston Morgan Horan's in-car, but Simon Knight's in for a fun Sunday. I don't think Tyson handled yesterday's couple laps as well as you would have liked. That was a word from Hank this morning. Chris Sollett now off the line. Of course, he had a solid day yesterday, was the words Dave Skinner told me, and fortunately we saw Dave Skinner had a throttle body issue yesterday and put him out of the race while he's hovering around that top 20. So unfortunate there for the second of our Silico cars. But it's good to see Julie Creek base Chris Sollett still flying the flag there in the little sports light. He's got 2 laps remaining in his event, just entered in the Queensland component. The second of our leading cars. Here is Trav Robinson, Paul Curry. So we'll bring you some times. It took Bo Robinson 27 minutes and 6 seconds to get to this point. And 27:42 for Travis Robinson. So there you go, that's interesting. So around 36 seconds quicker for Bo Robinson to the 50 kilometre mark. So he's extend the margin provisionally as we stand here. Hank Parker. Here is Jared Percival. So there's definitely been some time made up for Percival, the Ash. Here's some patrols just off the line. That's Steve and Deborah Ash in the 862. They were the last car to leave the line. Had a good run yesterday. I believe another crew to be just doing the Queensland component of this event. So just the 2 laps this morning. Daniel Challen hit a big hole yesterday, are the words. The big hole, and he broke an axle, put in the 2-wheel drive, changed the wheel over and got going. A bit of bush mechanics there for Challen and Kylie Dennis, the advanced racing team. The 626 always beautifully turned out Can-Am Maverick. And they know if they want to hunt down this side-by-side championship, they'll need to complete all laps today. So that is obviously the main focus here for Daniel Challen. So the 626, Jared Percival, there you go. So Jared Percival to that 50 kilometre sector mark at 27:23. So around 19 seconds quicker than Travis and around 17 seconds slower than Bo Robinson. So bit of inroads there for Percival. He needs to get past Travis Robinson, and that is the next step. Brent Smoothie, Gary Olsen coming through, another one of our side-by-side competitors on the start line. I think it's the 688 of Kane Bachman. Great to see them back out on the circuit. Lukey Mitchell in the navigator seat from sort of central Victoria. I believe their first off-road race here this weekend. So the ex-Justin Ryder Can-Am. And here is the next of our buggies. And this was my interesting focus point of this morning's first lap. How quick can Kai Camilleri go with some braking power? And you can already tell, it was almost a huge moment for Kai Camilleri. He's fortunate enough there to steady the ship and get it back down on all 4 wheels, but I'm sure Brendan, his father in the pits, I like to see in that. But the good news is that Jimco is hunting along. We'll get you a 50-kilometre split time there for Kai Camilleri, but it definitely looked like he made a bit of inroads on Brent Smoothie. So we still have quite a few cars off the line. The 696 is the next vehicle away, and only his second race start here this weekend. Should be the Ian Downey entry. Brian McCabe in the navigator seat, another one of our Hunter Valley Newcastle-based crews. And so there you go. Yeah, I knew he was quick. So Smoothie with a 27.49, Kai Camilleri 27.27. So all provisional, of course, but Kai Camilleri, the third quickest vehicle to this 50-kilometre mark this morning. But still Bo Robertson, who's extended his lead at the top. Just wish all the best to both Kane Bockman and Ian Downey, very new to the off-road scene. Mark Robbo Robinson now up to the grid. I believe a cracked transmission cooler issue yesterday, and he's borrowed one off Simon Knight's Rush truck, which is the great camaraderie about this sport. And the local legend Robbo, who he and his navigator do a power of work out here on the circuit. Of course, Les Tatum in the navigator's seat. Chevrolet C20 Chev-powered trophy truck, and see Kane Bockman working his way over the back. So the first 5 cars have come through cleanly. Bo Robinson, Travis Robinson, Jared Percival, Brent Smoothie and Kai Camilleri. Greg Campbell is scheduled to be the next vehicle through. So Mark Robertson be looking, fortunate day for him yesterday. So a drama in the prologue. Brad Zacher should be the next one away, the 683. Great to see Brad Zacher back out on the off-road scene. Of course, King Shock's Australia now. Mike King Shock there in Brizzy. It's a hired Can-Am X3 off GRC Motorsport for the weekend, and as I said, got young son Ryan, I believe, he's sharing the driving duties, so possibly in the seat this morning if you get any word on that. Back from in-car of Bo Robinson there. Full noise heading towards around that sort of 70-kilometre mark. We shouldn't be too far. It's around 34 minutes a lap, so I reckon in the next sort of 12 to 14 minutes we should be seeing one of our first cars. So we're still waiting for our 6th vehicle to come through to our view here in front of us. Greg Campbell, Lachlan Bailey, Young Cry, Hayden Bentley, Boston Morgan Horan should be the next cars through. So hopefully we can keep a tracking on them. The next car off the line, I think it's the Honey Badger. It's the Dave Lufton, Darren Barker. Broke that lower A-arm yesterday just as they come over the finish jump here, and saw what happened after that. A little bit of a tumble there for Dave Lufton, but like they always do, they've worked overtime to get the Pro Light car back on the track for today's action. Great to see Dave Lufton, Little Old Men Racing, he calls himself. He's still driving very nicely. So here we go. We see Greg Campbell coming through in the 651. Lachlan Bailey is on the charge in the 622. So a clear advantage here for Lachlan Bailey. Championship up for grabs here. Well, whoever really wins that battle, I think, will head to Kalgoorlie atop the side-by-side ranks. But you can definitely see Greg Campbell with a 30-30. I expect Lachlan Bailey to be a lot quicker than that. Started a minute behind him. Poor Tuck Lee. Next one off the line. No major issues for poor Tuck Lee yesterday. Quick service. Here's Boston Morgan Horan, the young Kiwi Raider. So he's obviously overtaken Bentley and Young Cry. So what time? This is going to be interesting. Unfortunately, out of the outright order. He's about to give some of these competitors, Greg Campbell, Lachlan Bailey, I think about to get a little bit of a fright. They'll know he'll be coming. This quick is the unknown. So, of course, we thank the St George region for all their support, the Boulogne Shire for making the KMC Wheels St George 399 possible. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I can confirm provisionally Boston Morgan Horan has gone 26:12 to the 50-kilometre mark, which is just shy of a minute quicker than Bo Robinson. Just shows you the speed of this young Kiwi. Quite remarkable. But back to the action, because another local off the line, Paul McCulloch, in the 6:29. He had dramas all day yesterday, unfortunately. Young Cry, it looks like going through there in the 40, the bat spec. Still no sign of Hayden Bentley as yet, so hopefully everything's okay there for the Bentley crew. But Paul McCulloch was the last car on the line. Mal McDonald in the navigator's seat. Another two guys that help out immensely out here at the St George 399 and other events. So we thank those guys immensely. Paul McCulloch, the 6:29. So only sort of a handful of cars left. Unfortunately, the 6144, who was scheduled to be off next, Craig and Jim Anderson from Kupanock over out of Taree, broke a front lower control arm on that second lap yesterday around the 4K mark, I believe. So puts them out of action today. The 818 of Hayden Bentley. So he's come through. What a run from Boston Morgan Horan, a 26:12. Could see a new lap record here to me, 52:17, the time to beat from Travis's second lap yesterday. The 112 now on the start line. Tate Svensson, not exactly sure what happened on that second lap for Tate. Quickly now done it in the navigator's seat, the Stealth Predator. But hey, he's still in contention. 2 laps on the board, not out of it yet. That's where the leading pro-light competitor with the retirement of John Towers and the issue we saw with Dave Luffman losing a tyre. So 3 clean laps here and he'll take home the pro-light trophy. Expect a big run though for Tatey Svensson. Shout out to everyone watching online on our live stream here on the Sakura Facebook page and YouTube channels. It's been a great start to Sunday. Yes, perfect weather here. Beautiful morning. Going to be a top 22 degrees here in sunny St George, and the wind coming from the south, which will be great for competitors because conditions are quite dry and dusty out here. See our first car, Bo Robinson, Shane Hutt, well and truly. It's 40 minutes a lap now, so around 10 minutes or so from a lap under the bag. But we'll get back to the start line because the next one of our vehicles, the 50 of Dave Allport. I believe he had a flat tyre yesterday for the 50, a home-built car, and great to see Dave Allport and Christy Page from Crookwell in New South Wales. Great supporters of off-road racing. Of course, the Allport family run the Crookwell event for a number of years on the New South Wales off-road circuit. Beautifully turned out home-built car, the Nissan VQ35 power plant, and I'm sure a few laps under the belt here will do his confidence good before heading to Nabiac in a couple of months' time, and then he's going to do a few more events next year, including the big one, the Fink Desert Race. So all the best to Paul and Christy there as they head off in car 50. Now, Ross Newman is one of our final cars away. I think we've only got a couple left. 6681. Rossi Newman, Jessica Jackson. Haven't spoken to Ross, but I do believe he had a bit of a rumble and a tumble out there on that second lap yesterday while he lost a bit of time coming in. Both okay. One of the veterans of the field. No fear, Ross Newman, that is for sure. The only side-by-side sport competitor. Did his 2 laps yesterday in 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I'm sure he's looking to improve on that time a little bit here this morning. So we're still waiting for our next car through. We've had everyone to date. Young Sam Commons, hopefully he will be shortly. Conroy Devine, Michael Bertinazzi, Cameron Van Boom, Justin Biggs, Tommy Darlington should be sort of the next lineup of cars past our 50 kilometre marker. The 6:47, Scotty Garver completed both laps yesterday. Here is Sam Commons on cue, the 6:46, the 15-year-old flying the flag proudly for Westline Motorsports here this morning after the unfortunate retirement of Nick Commons overnight. The valve spring issue. So Scotty Garver off the line, another one of our Gold Coast base crews in one of those Rush Can-Am Maverick R's. We wish him all the best. His son's sharing the navigating duties here this weekend. Awesome rear drone shot here of the Allport car going through the Parker Whoops. That's some magic footage by the production team. Seems to be handling it very nicely there, so be pretty happy with that. Davey Allport, so he heads off for his opener, and I think the final car away for Sunday at the St George 399, brought to you by KMC Wheels, Sequoia Motorsport Australia, is the 678 from Coolcarn down between Wagga Wagga and Albury, southern New South Wales. Paul and Kate Goody, only their second run in this Can-Am X3, seated in this position, only did the one lap yesterday. Actually missed a turn, so the 678, Paul and Kate Goody, the husband and wife combo, the final car away. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've had around 38, 39 starters here this morning from the 46 that started Section 1 yesterday. The next competitor through looks like it's Conroy Devine, the 606. So a couple more sector times as they come to hand. We saw Hayden Bentley with a 28.57. Sam Commons a 29.59. And Conroy Devine pops up with a 30.48. But if you're just joining us, 45 minutes into the opening lap here on Sunday, Boston Morgan Horan has hit the provisional, of course, or we'll have that provisional sector marker here at the 50k mark with a 26.12. Bo Robinson 27.06. So an extraordinary first 50ks for Boston Morgan Horan, just showing ability, his youth. Unfortunately out of running, and all eyes on our first Mason trophy truck, seeing on our screens Robinson and Hutt, 5 minutes a lap. So Michael Bertinazzi, Cameron Von Bone, Justin Biggs, Tommy Darlington scheduled to the next vehicles through. Just a bit of news there that the 451 of Michael Bertinazzi is stationary. Didn't see him come through the 50 kilometre mark, so the 451 of Michael Bertinazzi. A great start to his weekend yesterday, but looks like he's come to a bit of a stop. Also reports that Young Cry in the 40, the back car, has pulled up as well. So a couple of our competitors that started around that top 12 or so off the grid have both pulled up at some part of the track. Young Cry did go past us in 8th position. thanks to a lot of our sponsors here, of course, the St George region, CMS Racing, Brett Comiskey, who we'll see out on the track, UTV Surgery, RDO Equipment in town, Black Diamond Powder Coating. See, looks like the Justin Biggs Can-Am X3, the 6150 going through. So Rush Trucks, St George Freight Lines, Maranoa Tyres and Stickman's Construction for all their hiring out, lending of the Sisyphus and so forth, other equipment for this weekend. Of course, KMC Wheels being the major naming rights sponsor of the St George 39 this year. Motorsport Australia, Sequoia Club. So here is the second of our Bentley trophy trucks. It is Hannah Bentley, 418. So Hannah's had a nice start. Looks like she's got past Tommy Darlington at some point. We haven't seen the 63 Mendiola through yet. Yeah, so it looks like, yeah, Michael Bertinazzi and Tommy Darlington, the only two that we didn't see. There we go. So we just got some in-car here of Hank Parker's. That's the stop on the circuit as well. That's the 701. There we go on our screens. Like Simon Knight was out having a look on that front right. Looks like Hank stayed pretty stationary there in the cruiser. Looks like he's getting back in. Here is Tommy Darlington. It looks like Simon's getting strapped back in, so hopefully everything's okay there for those guys. Darlington through, so obviously Hannah Bentley's made a nice pass on him. Bo Robinson a couple more times. Justin Biggs 32.14 to sector one. Hannah Bentley 30.08. Puts her up there. Tommy Darlington 32.51. Bo Robinson is not far away now, 50 minutes elapsed. So I expect any minute now you'll pop his head up over the crest to the left of the headquarters. There's a few people up on the hill. Some awesome drone footage coming in. And here comes Robinson, currently second outright in the championship. But their dream is to come 1-2 in the ORC, something they've been chasing for a long, long time since their late father Brian started the dream all those years ago. The hours, the time, the effort, the commitment to Australian off-road racing, the Robinson family, and all of a sudden everything is working out for the Robinson family. And here is our first car. So we had a lap one time shortly for Bo Robinson, Shane Hart, the 413. There you go, a 51.17. So exactly a minute quicker than his brother Travis's quickest lap yesterday, which was a 52.17. So did say the conditions would be at their absolute finest here this morning. Great conditions. Still 2 laps remaining though. I mean, that's 3 laps down, 1 this morning. Some great drone footage here of the Robinson Mason. Next question is, how far behind is Travis? As I said, championship completely the aim here this weekend. It's a long way to go. 1.5 points at the Kalgoorlie Desert Race. In a couple of months' time, Hank Parker back in motion. Maybe a bit of a checko, maybe a few noises popping up there in 76 Land Cruiser. Great news is the 701 is back up and running. 51.17 is the time to beat. Going on that marker, Boston first 50 kilometres. Maybe the 50-minute mark can be broken here. A bit wide there. Bo Robinson, next one of our side-by-sides through. Might be the Jack Livingston entry. 6138. So he's held his position. Nick Burt, Matty Lawless, Lachlan Waters, Rob Knight, Coop Weston, Brett Comiskey should be the next few through. And there is Nick and Alex Burt. So like yesterday, just there is Travis Robinson. So Percival, I'd nearly imagine won't be that far off if everything was going well for him in this second part of lap 1, and a 52.26 for Travis Robinson. So a minute and 9 seconds slower than his brother. That would have got a good glimpse of one another there, but this is exactly where they want to be in terms of the race, in terms of the championship. And Comiskey, after a bit of a miss off the start, sounds like he's running nicely in the 8:34. Not exactly where he'd want to be Sunday morning. There is Percival. So there's probably not much in that. Maybe Travis. There you go, 52.10. Yeah, so around 16 seconds quicker for Percival over Travis on that opening lap, which will pull the margin down around 50 seconds, 45 or so seconds between Travis and Jared Percival for that second position, which is also interesting, which means Percival at this stage starts ahead of Travis Robinson for the final lap this afternoon, which adds another dimension. See Shane Hutt checking his phone there. A couple of our local recovery crews to the right there watching Bo Robinson in his absolute element here as we just approach 8:30 local time. Great pictures. But he's holding on there, but no, the 413 of Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt clearly out in front now. Another minute. What's that? Minute 9. So the lead's popped up to around a minute 40 now. 2 laps remaining for the 413. So well on his way onto his second lap, the 701. Brent Smoothie. As we see Travis Robinson, Paul Curry work his way through Parker's whoops once again in the 813. Expect Brent Smoothie, Kai Camilleri very shortly. There is Brent Smoothie. How far away is Kai Camilleri is the big question, but Smoothie goes through with a 52.47. Lachlan Waters heads off over the back of the complex. I didn't see the 71 of Matt Lawless. Here's Chris Weston. So Chris Weston having a nice run. Smoothie crosses with, as I said, a 52.46, so around 20 or so seconds off the pace of Travis Robinson. Try and get a bit of a update on car 34. Yeah, well and truly on his way, so he's still coming in. He lost a bit of time though. He was a lot closer to Smoothie coming through at the 50-kilometre mark, and there you go. So he's into the pit. So Camilleri and Luke Hendry, the first of our front-running cars to enter the pit area. Not great news there for Camilleri. Hank Parker back on our screens through a little bit of the scrub section here of the St George 399. I don't think Hank Parker's at full speed myself, but you don't know. Yesterday he was holding on a lot tight onto that wheel, so maybe nursing his baby a little bit here this morning, but we'll have to stay tuned on that. We've got Simon Knight in the navigator's seat. So I definitely didn't see Matty Lawless come through in the 71. Chris Chris Weston was the last vehicle through, so he's obviously made the pass on Rob Knight. Hank Parker, Chris Sollett, Stephen Ash, Daniel Challen, Kane Bockman should be a few of our next competitors. And even with Kai Camilleri there, a 52.57. So still a reasonably quick time, only a few seconds off Brent Smoothie. So I think the next vehicle through will be the 489 of Boston Morgan Horan. Lachlan Bailey, to me, looks like he's made the pass on Greg Campbell. Rob Knight coming through in the 655. Hayden Bentley still working along nicely. So there should be sort of the next handful or so cars. Sam Commons, Conroy Devine, Cameron Von Bohm, Justin Biggs. I think Hank Parker, looking at his live stream, might have some issues in the cruiser. He's not going at the speed he was at yesterday. One hand on the wheel, which is a bit of a giveaway there for Hank the Tank, but we'll have to stay tuned on that. He's one man that's not doing it that bad at all is Bo Robinson, though. Everything's looking very nicely for him so far. Some great scenes brought to us by the production crew. Shane involved heavily in that as well, so hats off to everyone who made that happen this weekend. Still plenty of action to unfold. This is just the start of what's going to be a big Sunday, of course. Our lead 5 cars now on lap 2. Compulsory 45-minute service break awaits the completion of this one. There we go. So Hank Parker has pulled up once again onto the right-hand side of the track. So definitely looked like he was suffering from something there. It looks like he's pressed the OK on his rally safe device. A clear issue there for Hank Parker. Simon Knight looks like he's getting out, doing a few repairs there. Boston Morgan Horan should be our next competitor coming through on cue, and here he is. Oh, what a talent. Oh, I'll tell you what, has not backed off one bit there. And there you go, a 50.38 for Boston Morgan Horan, ladies and gentlemen. Might be out of outright contention, but a few good laps here will do his confidence no harm at all. Not that he really needs any more. He's a great young competitor, great person on and off the track, and hopefully we'll see him at the Kalgoorlie Desert Race in a couple of months' time, a place that, once again, he took to the floor last year before power steering issues early on Sunday. Chris Sollett goes through. So unfortunately, Hank Parker didn't make the 50-kilometre mark as yet, but Chris Sollett having a nice run. One of our side-by-sides. It's the Daniel Challen entry, 6.26. Going through, so he's obviously made the pass on Steve Ash. We haven't seen him through as yet. But a 50.38 for Boston Morgan Horan, started down in 11th spot behind Hayden Bentley. Overtaken Bentley, Young Cryer, Lachlan Bailey and Greg Campbell on an open lap. And now he has a clean run because he's got no one ahead of him until Brent Smoothie, who's good sort of 4 or 5 minutes ahead. Not going to catch him. So this could be a serious lap time for Boston Morgan Horan. Hopefully bring it home. So the first of our side-by-sides, and this will be our 6th outright car. Lachlan Beatty, Jordan Zolo, Bailey Motorsports Can-Am Maverick R. So he started the day about half a minute behind Greg Campbell. There is Greg Campbell, so he's definitely made that advantage. And Boston Morgan Horan has not backed off an inch over on Parker's whoops. So truckies set up like a dream there. The guys are the ex-Kittle Motorsport machine. So Bailey through in a 56.27 or 57.42 for Greg Campbell. So Lachlan Bailey has retaken the lead in the side-by-side pro class here provisionally. We head into lap 4 of this one. Oh, good news. Hank Parker and Simon Knight back on, up and running. Waiting for Steve Ash, Kane Bockman, Ian Downey, Mark Robinson, Brad Zacher, with our next competitors to come through the halfway mark of this one. Here we go. So we got, looks like Steve and Deb Ash, Mark Robinson having a good lunge here. He's might be gonna get past him on the inside. Matty Lawless, who's had a clear issue there. Bit of a drag race here. So Robinson gets past. And Matty Lawless obviously has had another issue. Get some awesome shots there on our drone. Hayden Bentley coming through to complete his opening lap this morning. So Bentley, like I said, hasn't been the quickest car out here by no means this weekend, but very consistent performer. And it looks like, do we see the Jimco head back out there? Kai Camilleri definitely looked like Kai. So maybe a little bit of bad luck there for Hayden, but I'm sure Kai will get out of his road pretty quick, and it's good news to see Kai Camilleri back out on the circuit. Hayden Bentley, the time for him very shortly. So he was our 8th car to complete. Be a little bit of a gap now back to our next competitors. Sam Commons, Conroy Devine, Cameron Von Bohm and Justin Biggs. Yeah, so young Cry at the 54 kilometre mark has definitely stopped. So unfortunately that'll be the last we see of him. Dave Luffman shouldn't be that far away, I believe, from our halfway mark. Kane Bockman, Ian Downey, other competitors that we haven't seen through. Here is the Honey Badger. It's his 3rd season now in the Luke Ersedge built machine, and always looking a picture. See Kai Camilleri on our screens heading towards the 34 Jimco, going through the back on Parker's whoops here for the penultimate time this weekend. Of course, this lap got that service break, and then they'll do it all again for the final showdown this afternoon. There we go, time for Hayden Bentley, and it's a good one, a 55.18 for Hayden Bentley. So starting that 10th, had a couple of withdrawals in front of him, so Hayden Bentley, you'd think, will be well and truly around that sort of top 6 competitors as we stand in the outright order. So young Sam Commons, for those Westline guys watching on my calculations, should be the next vehicle through in front of us, in only not far away at all. And the 606 of Conroy Devine and Cameron Von Bohm as well. Couple of our side-by-sides, looks like the Ian Downey entering Kane Bockman go past the 50 kilometre mark, so both going along nicely. So still no Hank Parker, and of course Michael Bertinazzi, the only couple of cars so far that haven't made past us here. Brad Zacher. That far away now. Paul McCulloch looks like he's still moving nicely towards the 50-kilometre mark. Tate Svensson is around 43 k's in. Hank Parker looks like he's going to make the 50-kilometre mark, and hopefully for those guys they can continue. It looks like it's been a bit of a rough morning there for the 701 crew. Poor Tuck Lee still out there. Dave Orport, hopefully he's still going. It says he's around the 40-kilometre mark, and here is young Sam Commons, the 6:46. Coming through very nicely. Hank Parker goes past our 50-kilometre vision. We might nearly see a pit entry for Hank when he comes through after the first lap. So the track's really starting to rut out there. A lot of the ground is very soft by all reports, as you can tell, and a lot of hard surface as well. So the nature of our terrain. Paul McCulloch having a nice crack there. He's just about to get on the horn there to Brad Zacher. So a nice couple of laps. Conroy Devine goes through. We saw Sam Commons with a 57.03 and a 57.12 for Conroy Devine in the 6.06. So a couple of nice laps there. Only a few seconds between young Sam and Conroy. So the only two we've seen that have really missed, obviously Michael Burton Nazzy. See a clear DNF there for those guys. Unfortunately, Young Cry has stopped around the 54-kilometre mark. So those two competitors looks like they won't be making lap one. 619, Cameron Von Bohm. He won't be too far away. He's the next vehicle on the track to come through. And then Justin Biggs still moving along nicely. Trying to find the whereabouts of Tommy Darlington is there. Tate Svensson looks like he's coming towards us here on his opening lap. He had issues yesterday, started way down in around 35th position today. Here goes Cameron Von Bohm through in the 619, the ex-Christian Reach Can-Am. He's on his final lap of the weekend. Just entered in the Queensland component. Darlington's still going along nicely. There's a bit of a pack there at around the 75-kilometre mark. Poor Tuck Lee goes through. back on cars, Bo Robinson, Shane Hutt. I think they're far away now from coming back past us for a second time this morning at our first sector point. Cameron Von Boehm with a 57.21.6 opening the lap. Dave Allport, Rossi Newman, Scotty Garver, Paul Goody. Next couple of competitors through the 50-kilometre mark on their first lap. So it might be the Allport car coming in here on our KMC Wheels live stream, of course. Our naming rights sponsors this weekend. Shout out to, of course, the St George region for all their support. Lone Shire, McIntyre Agriculture, who owns the land we're on here today. And without those guys, this simply does not happen. So thanks to the McIntyre family for securing the land for all the events in St George over the last 8 or so years since the inaugural event in 2017. Ashwood Farm for providing the equipment for the track. To a lot of our local legends, Mark Robinson, Paul McCulloch, Eddie Bowman, Les Tatum, Justin, and of course Hank Parker. Supporter Club for their commitment as well. So Dave Allport, Christy Page coming through. Sure, the Allport family, long time supporters and competitors in the off-road scene. Back on some more in-car for those watching on at home, the 413. Some big open straights out here. Everyone says the biggest part is trying to pull it up and go left or right. These trophy trucks done that quite well over the course of the weekend. So the next one through, I reckon this might be the 647 of Scotty Garver going through his off-road debut this weekend. So hats off to him. So I reckon just Rossi Newman, the Goody combination. That'll nearly be it. So Justin Biggs. He's through. Get a time for Justin Biggs, a 1 hour 37.95. Another one of our competitors just doing the Queensland component of this event. So the Biggsy Racing Can-Am moving along nicely. Tommy Darlington, Brett Comiskey, there's a few there that are coming, great shots there from a long pan on our drone. Hank Parker, he's doing it tough this morning, poor Hank, and clearly an issue there for those guys in the 701. Bo Robinson. Not far away from coming past us at the 50-kilometre circuit. Great shot there of a couple of our competitors. Awesome shot. Looks like we might have one of our race. Looks like could be the Robertson Mason here, about to catch one of our final cars off the grid. It might be Paul and Kate Goody. So sure they're about to get a bit of a taste of the off-road world when Bo Robinson makes the move here. And well, there you go. So that's great work. So you see the Goodies move over to the left there on the inside of that corner, and Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt. There you go. So we'll see it on our in-car. That's what we like to see. Only their second race, the Goody husband and wife crew, but Bo Robinson. a nice pass there. Any moment to see them back in our views for the second time here on the mark. And so here I can hear the 7 litre Mason of Robinson and Hutt, our race leaders. That's about 140 kilometres down this morning. 40 to go before that 45-minute service break. He's saying to his brother, catch me if you can, although very happy, content with where they both sit heading into this final day, knowing a big championship points haul this weekend will go a long way to securing that 1-2 finish for the year for OBR. Paul and Kate Goody going through there of our final cars on lap 1. That's a 6, 7, 8. I reckon we've only got Rossi Newman, I believe, is our final car to come through. And there is the Comiskey Brenthal, the 834, off to a bit of a slow start there again this morning, so it hasn't quite been the weekend that long-time Socorro Queensland off-road supporter Brett Comiskey and Corey Cooper would have liked, although still laps on the board for Comiskey. See, it might be an issue with Hannah Bentley. I expect her to be here as well, so stay tuned on that. And I think this is our final car on the circuit on lap 1. Ross Newman, Jessica Jackson in the little Warwick Vet Yamaha mobile. So that might be our final car. And here's a second of our front-running vehicles on the second lap here this morning. The 813 Robinson and Curry. Oh yeah, doing it very nicely. Listen to that thing all weekend. The Loveday 400 Park. Both of these OBR trucks haven't missed a beat so far. Don't want to put the commentator's mic on these boys. Tommy Darlington through. Next of our... There we go. So great. Another great shot there of Travis Robinson overtaking the little Yamaha of Rossi Newman. A little bit of size difference there. Next one through. Looks like it's a Jack Livingston entry. So as we see Percival come through, just a bit of interesting news. It looks like that Travis has actually gone 30 seconds quicker than Bo in that first 50 kilometres on lap 2. So he's eaten a little bit into that time he lost on that opening lap, which once again creates another fascinating part. Great time for Brett Comiskey, despite all the dramas early on. Chris West and Ethan Perks coming through nicely. Brett Comiskey with a 57.50. It's like young Lachlan Waters going through on his lap as well. So Smoothie the next vehicle to come to the sector. So yeah, Travis Robinson 27.09, Percival 27.39, Robinson 27.41 to that split point, 50 kilometre mark. Tommy Darlington did his first lap in 1 hour and 4. Jack Livingston 1 hour 1, and Nick Burt was through in 1 hour 1:49. So nothing between those few. Lachlan Waters, a great time for him, 58.31. So Livingston, Burt, Comiskey, Lachlan Waters, Tom Darlington have all crossed the line nicely. Means the next one through should be Boston Morgan Horn split time, so that'll be very interesting. See what he does here. Our next vehicle's Rob Knight still going along well, Daniel Challen, Matty Lawless, Chris Sollett. 6.55 and Rob Knight. The next vehicle for a lap finish. Time for Chris Weston. There you go, great time for Chris Weston, a 56.18, a 56.18 for Chris Weston. Fortunately, they dropped a couple of laps yesterday. .701 still punch along. They're not the same speed as yesterday, but shouldn't be that far away from a first lap. I expect him to possibly come into the pit area. All cars counted for the 50 kilometre mark on lap 1, and we've had a handful through here on lap 2. So Nick Burt, one of our last cars across the line there in the 4:32. Seem to be missing is Hannah Bentley 418. She has not come through on her opener, so stationary 6k mark. So not great news there for Hannah Bentley. Ben Shivel in 418. Boston Morgan Horn, my calculation should be the next buggy past our 50 kilometre mark. Thumbs up there for Shane Huck in the Mason. Here is Boston. So on cue, the 489. Morgan Horan and Will Haddock in the navigator's seat. No issues today for those guys. An absolute cracking first lap. As I alluded to, a perfect run for them. Rob Knight now, the 6.55. Looks like he's a pause there as he come across towards the pit entry, but it looks like he's definitely heading into the pits. That's the 6.55 of Rob Knight. Pass on Hank Parker, Simon Knight in the 7.01. Just got some news through that Dave Lufton did a power steering pump this morning, so that'll be the end of his weekend. Dave Lufton, an eventful one for him. So the quickest lap time so far of today is the 50.38.6 for Boston Morgan Horan. Bo Robinson's with a 51.17. And then Travis Robinson has gone pretty impressively considering the passing that would have been done on that last lap. He's gone about a minute 2 quicker on lap 2 there for Robinson with a 51.24. So as I said, he's put another sort of 40-odd seconds on Jared Percival for that second and third position. See some of these corners really running out, and Hank Parker's given us a good look of his own Parker whoops over the back of the start-finish complex. So Smoothie, Gary Olsen, and the next vehicle across the line. He broke the duck at the Loveday 400, his first finish in the Mason, and he's come home quite impressively here in the 8:47. Brett Comiskey going through in the 8:34, so still 30-odd kilometres remaining on his Section 2 for Comiskey. Your time for Brent Smoothie, so he goes 4th quickest for this morning. That was a 52.44, so 3 seconds quicker than his opening lap. So Smoothie very consistent, but just not quite at the pace of his 3 ahead of him. So around a minute slower off than Jared Percival. So Brent Smoothie clearly in that 4th spot with 1 lap remaining. So it's still WA 1, 2, 3, 4. Justin Biggs coming through now. Biggs Racing, Can-Am. It looks like Cameron Von Boehm hot on his heels in the 619. So another one of our newcomers to the sport from over Bow Desert Way. See these young Queenslanders, and he's not backing off one bit. Cameron Von Boehm, very impressive performance. So Boston Morgan Horan, I believe, will be the next competitor to complete the 2 laps this morning. Fortunately, out of outright contention, Paul and Kate Goody, the 678, should be the final car to come across the line. Looks like it's the Scotty Garver entry heading back out to the track, the 647. Just got a glimpse of that on our production. So they're back out of the pit area, the 647. So Boston Morgan Horan, what's the prediction? He's done a 50.38.6 the opening lap. He had a dream run with a couple of competitors ahead of him not making the start. He obviously got past Hayden Bentley early in the 2 side-by-sides of Lachlan Bailey, Greg Campbell. Kai Camilleri is another one that should be looks like he's still moving along nicely. That's the 34, Hayden Bentley, Greg Campbell. Hopefully Lachlan Bailey's still moving there. We can hear Boston Morgan Horan over the finish line and down into the pit area. Great stuff, young man. That's a 489 home and hose. Very, very impressive. It's just such a shame yesterday, that rear diff failure on the opening lap, and he's gone just a little slower than opening lap. But, I mean, it puts it into perspective. We saw Robinson, our race leader, see the Goody combination go through. So that is definitely our final car on the circuit. Looks like Rossi Newman's had dramas. Bo Robinson with that 52.15 lap 2. Boston Morgan Horan 50.44. Uninvitably the position that Bo Robinson can afford to be in with a great lead in this event. Chris Weston, Ethan Perks going through in the rush buggy, the 61. So an overall time for Boston Morgan Horan of 1 hour 41.22. So 2 minutes and 11 seconds quicker than Bo Robinson. So nearly a lap a minute. Every lap, a minute advantage there for Boston over the rest of the field. But that's 5 cars home. We're still waiting for our 5th car to cross on the lead lap. the exciting and the interesting part about this, which will really have no effect on the OBR crews, but Boston Morgan Horan will start the final lap once it's reseeded, regrouped in first position due to this section performance. So at the moment it'll be Boston, Bo, Travis, Jared and Brent Smoothie, the first 5 away for the final lap, the final sprint towards the finish of this one. 2025 KMC Wheels St George 399. So yeah, around 45 seconds between Bo and Travis with that 1 lap remaining. So Travis would have to pass his brother and put 15 or so. Actually, no, just pull within 15 seconds of him sort of to get that lead. But they'd be very happy where they sit. Tom Darlington comes through. So Tom would be still running around that second spot in class at the moment in the pro buggies behind sort of Jared Percival. Oh, sorry, Kai Kamali. So yeah, third spot in the pro buggies. Lachlan Waters now coming through. It's been a nice Sunday for Lachlan Waters. Unfortunately, snapped the rear radius arm bolt yesterday, I believe. Lost the wheel and got that repaired back out on the circuit. Jack Livingston, another one that's pushing through over the back in the 6138. So a few of the cars were still waiting for the Sector 3 point. We know Dave Lufton retired from the event with power steering pump failure. Mark Robinson, we haven't seen him back through. Daniel Challen. We just saw Lachlan Waters go through. Nick Burt's another one. Chris Sollett shouldn't be that far away. So got a lot of competitors in sort of that last 40 kilometres of the circuit. The 34 of Kai Camilleri, Lachlan Bailey, Greg Campbell, and Hayden Bentley was there on our tracker before, but on cue, I think it should nearly be the 34 of Kai Camilleri, the pro buggy. Luke Hendry in the navigator's seat. Still waiting, as I said, for that 5th car to come through on the lead lap. Shout out to everyone watching on back at home. Being Les Criddle, the Frogs High crew, Savannah. Great supporters of the live stream action over the weekend. What a great production it has been from the team here at the St George 399. Round 4 the ORC, round 2 of the Queensland Off-Road Championship, and round 2 of the South East Queensland Off-Road Racing Association Club Championship. Here is Nick and Alex Burt from Murray Bridge. So there is Camilleri and Hendry, our 5th vehicle home. A huge effort from young Kai, considering he's been in the pits. He had brake issues yesterday, so things quite haven't gone his way. Looks like Ian Downey's gone back out on the track there, the 696. He's just headed back out for his second lap out of the pit area. So Kai Camilleri, time for him. Some more great inboard of Hank Barker for those watching on. Marinoa Tyres in town. Thanks for your support. The 2025 St George 399. Of course, McIntyre Agriculture just couldn't be possible without you guys. The Cora Club, Motorsport Australia, BF Goodrich for the naming rights sponsorship of the ORC, St George Freight Lines, the St George region itself, U2V Surgery, RDO Equipment, Rush Trucks, Black Diamond, Powder Coating, for all their support, and of course Stickman's Construction for the lending of the scissor lifts and so forth, especially for the production. So Kai Camilleri with a final lap 2 time of 1 hour 4 seconds. We saw he lost those valuable minutes in the pit area after lap 1, but he's through in a 1 hour 53.01, which still at the moment puts him in 5th position outright. But we still have the likes of Hayden Bentley, Lockie Bailey and Greg Campbell that can sort of throw that into the mix. So I reckon the 622 of Lachlan Bailey, Jordan Zolo should be the next vehicle through. You see the Ian Downey Can-Am now the final car on the track. It's a bit of a mix and a match here at the moment. A couple of our competitors that entered the pit area. Looks like Rossi Newman is still stopped at the 60k mark on that first lap. So that'll be the end of his day unless they're out there working on that vehicle. So Lachlan Bailey's overall time yesterday, 1 hour 56.09. So he was only sort of a minute or so off the pace of Kai Camilleri. Looks like Lachlan Bailey's still actually a couple of minutes behind Lachlan Bailey off the start. So maybe Kai Camilleri might have done enough here to, even with that pit stop, to hold 5th spot outright. We'll wait and see because Lachlan Bailey is just over the hill to our left. He's only a few seconds away now. Daniel Chall and Kylie Dennis. Last car past our 50-kilometre marker. All the way from Darwin in the NT. So huge effort from those guys. But any second now we should see Lachlan Bailey come over to our left. The meaty hut here. Greg Campbell also. So there is Lachlan Bailey. So great result. Good news for the South Australians. 622 is the 6th car to complete all 4 laps so far of the St George 399. That 1 lap remaining. Greg Campbell, Hayden Bentley expected to be the next 2 competitors. A bit of sad news there. Looks like Hannah Bentley's definitely had some dramas and hasn't checked in that first lap. She was stationary a good half an hour or so ago. So some good news hopefully on the horizon for Hayden Bentley, although not the weekend that Hannah was after. The 862, as I alluded to, stopped on their first lap. The Ash combination. I expect Campbell and Bentley to be pretty close to one another. Then young Sam Commons. Here is Greg Campbell, Ryland Burt. So Lachlan Bailey's final time of 58.22, Campbell of 59.06. So Lachlan Bailey's put nearly exactly 2 minutes on Greg Campbell. So he's got a good minute and a half advantage heading into the final lap. So advantage Bailey there in the side-by-sides. Lachlan Bailey was actually sort of a couple minutes off the pace of Kai Camilleri, even with that pit stop. So still Bo Robinson, Travis Robinson, Jared Percival, Brent Smoothie, Kai Camilleri, Lachlan Bailey, Greg Campbell. But Hayden Bentley now, what can he do to the outright order? We'll get a time for him because he started a good 4 or so minutes behind Yeah, they say there you go. So it's a 58.10 for Hayden Bentley on lap 2. A few minutes slower than that opening lap. So maybe an issue again for Hayden Bentley. That's a 1 hour 53.28. So I think Hayden Bentley will still be around that 7th or 8th spot heading into the final section. So maybe an issue there for the racer. A 55.18 the first lap and a 58.10 on lap 2 for Bentley and Bentley. Next couple of vehicles expected across the line. The 646 of Young Gun, the 15-year-old from Orange, Central West New South Wales, Sam Commons. Lachlan Benny in the navigator's seat. I'm sure the Westline crew will be very happy with this result. Of course, still not old enough as yet to be competing in the ORC component. Needs to be 16 years of age. So a few months away from that. I believe next year young Sam will be able to compete, and he's definitely a future star in the making. This is a huge performance for him. Matty Lawless on our screens for those watching on from wherever you are across the country. 71 Total Mine Solutions, Jimco. He did come into the pits after lap 1 like he did yesterday. He didn't actually finish his second lap yesterday afternoon, but Matty Lawless in one of the nice sounding cars on the circuit. Just to mention that the Canine guys down here, the Lions Club, lunch is getting ready. The bar will be open till about 1. So let's enjoy the Sunday out here in St George Paradise. It's a beautiful part of the world, the St George region. So if you're looking for something, get down to the Lions Club and grab yourself something nice. It's a cold drink. There's a coffee van also available, plenty of food. Chris Sollett goes through in his single-seater in the 1063. So Robinson Shane Hutt were around the 83 kilometre mark, so still around 6 or so away from the finish. There'll be a lot of people back home watching on back home to see their man Bo Robinson claim another ORC round victory. Both Bo and Travis have that one Fink title now to their name. Spin car of Hank Parker. Coming towards far off our 50 kilometre marker. But all eyes on the finish line. All eyes on the 413. Bo Robinson, Shane Hutt. Just about to come back onto the prologue part of the track. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's only around 4 or so kilometres from the finish. And this might be our first glimpse for those watching on at home. Here is Bo Robinson coming back towards us here at the Brookdale station. He's got 4 Kalgoorlie Desert Race titles to his name, 2 of those at AORC level. Of course, he got the big one, the 2024 Fink Desert Race victory, which was such a relief, such an emotional weekend for the team, which his brother backed up with the outright victory only 3 months ago. But we've only a few corners left with this one. Remember, his brother Travis has to get within sort of 14 seconds from once Bo crosses that line to take the victory. So at the moment, only a few corners to go for the two-wheel drive Mason. He had dramas at the first round at Pooncarie earlier in the season. He finished 25th outright down there in New South Wales. He crossed second behind his brother at the second round in Alice Springs. He was a bit off the pace by his standards at the previous round at the Loveday 400. But ladies and gentlemen, only a corner or so to go. And this, to me, will be our 2025 KMC Wheels St George 399 champions. And Bo Robinson returns to the winner's circle. And regardless of where his brother comes in, that will be 3 ORC round victories in a row for the OBR team. Hats off to the Robinson gang and all the helpers and their crews behind the scenes. That's a final lap time of 53.02 for Bo Robinson, Shane Hutt. We can hear another one of our screaming 7-litre Masons coming over from our left, and that will definitely be the 813 of Travis Robinson. What a dream season he's having today. I reckon this will be provisionally second outright. Paul Curry in the navigator's seat. Well done to Travis and Paul. Another tremendous weekend for the OBR team. 1 and 2 once again. We'll wait for final confirmation. So that's a 52.45. So around 17 seconds quicker. So ladies and gentlemen, I can provisionally reveal Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt are your provisional 2025 KMC Wheels St George 399 champions. And then his brother Travis. So the championship margin has narrowed slightly from when we enter this weekend. 416 points between the pair. That'll probably narrow to around 330, 340 by quick maths. But Jared Percival, what a final stanza he's had here. That is going to be a quick time for Jared Percival. Joshua Howard. There you go, 52.33. So by far the second quickest car out on the circuit this afternoon. About 12 seconds quicker than Travis Robinson. About 30 seconds over Bo Robinson. But as we stand, that to me will be our outright podium. And that's the second time now that Jared Percival has found himself on the ORC podium after a second place at Kalgoorlie last October. And with 1.5 points at St George, literally 1,000 points on the line, with 100 now for the prologue honours, the championship is still well and truly on. Travis Robinson will have to finish at Kalgoorlie to make sure he gets that number 1 plate for 2026. Bo Robinson smelling that ORC trophy. He'll be still in second spot, and then Jared Percival. All those Percival Motorsports fans, your man is well and truly still in the hunt. Things go his way over on home soil. So congratulations, of course, to our OBR crews and Jared Percival, who provisionally will round out our top 3. The next one through, Brent Smoothie. It's not quite going to be enough for Smoothie this weekend, but I'll tell you what, he'll be very happy with that 4th spot. So Brent Smoothie will be provisionally 4th. That was a 53 flat for Smoothie, so a couple of seconds quicker than Bo Robinson on that final lap. 2:45 back to the nearest car, so he will provisionally finish 4th outright, Brent Smoothie. Ian Downey coming through over the back of the complex. Hank Parker still battling home soil terrain over to the back of the complex. He's coming towards the 50k mark. So there you go, Bo Robinson, 28.5 second victor over brother Travis. Provisional times here on race result. Jared Percival further 1.5 minutes back in 3rd. Brent Smoothie, so we're still waiting for that 5th position. Unfortunately, Mackay Camilleri fans, it looks like your man might be stationary around the 75k mark. So, or heartbreak there for young Kai, who's well and truly headed for a top 5 finish. The next car across the line will be young Cooper Weston and Benny Boland. Brett Comiskey's having a nice final stanza, and Hayden Bentley was at the 82k mark 16 seconds ago, so we should have a few more of our competitors coming in pretty quickly. Looks like Daniel Challen, Bailey, Greg Campbell and Lachlan Waters. Burrow just side-by-side competitors following these next 3. So just joining us online, hats off to Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt, our provisional champions of St George. Tremendous effort for those guys. Travis Robinson continues the 1-2. That's 3 in a row for the team. Sitting pretty atop of the ORC Championship. Boston Morgan Horenhay, what a final lap for him, a 50-15. 2 minutes and 18 seconds quicker than Jared Percival. Here comes Coop Weston and Benny Boland. A couple of the good guys of the sport. Great to see them out here competing, always with smiles on their dials. And the 61, the Off-Road Rush team. Big round of applause up on the spectator mound. Give young Cooper a lot of confidence heading into the end of the season. I know he's got a couple of races coming up. It was a nice time from young Cooper. So Brett Comiskey, he's made a big final move. Have a look at the back rear guard here on Brett Comiskey's Brenthal. So he's obviously pushed right to the end there, which is great to see. Hayden Bentley will be the next vehicle across the line. Get some times there for the last 3 home. Cooper Weston. Weston, a tremendous result there for him. Unfortunate with those 2 laps. Hank Parker now working towards us. Hank Parker, one of our final competitors. Hayden Bentley then, the 87 kilometre mark. Also coming in, Greg Campbell, Lachlan Bailey, not that far away, but this will be one of our final cars, I believe, on the circuit. Hank Parker. Gritty competitor, Hank, and he won't give in till the end of this event. I know Simon Knight having a nice old ride out there. I don't know if it'd be smooth as that nice 7-litre rush truck sitting over there in the pit area. It wasn't their weekend. Hayden Bentley coming in. So Cooper Weston's final time was a 55.2. Brett Comiskey a 54.4. So that puts Brett Comiskey at the moment, as I said, at the moment, provisionally 5th outright here for the event so far. Hayden Bentley, though, looks like Hayden's not going at full speed. We'll have to wait and see the racer. Oh, he looks like he's going right now. So here is the 818, our next vehicle across the line. Another race finish in the bag for Hayden Bentley, one of the more experienced campaigners across Australia. And there you go, Hayden Bentley goes P5, so he knocks Comiskey back at a final lap of 54.49. So yeah, by far his quickest of the event, Hayden Bentley. So he'll take the final spot on the Extreme 4-wheel drive podium. So Bo Robinson, Travis Robinson, Jared Percival, Brent Smoothie, Hayden Bentley, Brett Comiskey your current top 6. Unfortunately, Kai Camilleri has exited the event at a pivotal stage, an unfortunate stage down there. So we'll have to wait and see what is the story there. Lachlan Bailey should be the next one across the line, hopefully, for the South Australian fans. Greg Campbell, Lachlan Waters and Daniel Challen. So the next 4 through should be side-by-side competitors. I think we've seen most of our cars still waiting for. I think that's it. So Hank Parker should be the final car on the track. So everyone's gone past our 50-kilometre circuit. Well and truly on the way for a finish of the KMC Wheels St George 399. Of course, for those that are leaving us, the presentation I'm sure will be getting underway as soon as all cars are finished. Down here on the staging area for the event down in event headquarters. The first 3 cars there. Travis closest to the track. Bo Robinson in the centre and Jared Percival. Another tremendous result for WA. They've rounded out the podium at the past 2 events. Hank Parker back on our screens. Next lot of competitors across will be a flowing of side-by-side Can-Ams. The next 4 by my calculations. And then Jack Livingston, Scotty Garver, Nick Burt, Tommy Darlington, Rob Knight still going well. Looks like Dave Allport, Paul Tuck Lee still moving. So unfortunate news is it looks like the Kai Camilleri Luke Henry Jimco has stopped on the circuit around the 76-kilometre mark. So close to that top 5 result for Kai Camilleri, but a promising weekend for the North Queensland Young Gun. See the local farming crews here helping out, putting some hay bales down for the event presentations this afternoon, which is great to see. I reckon Lachlan Bailey's about to come home here. And will this be enough to finish in 5th over Brett Comiskey, who hasn't had the greatest of runs this weekend? I think it might nearly be enough for Lachlan Bailey. Just have to wait and see. So there you go. He jumps into 6 above Comiskey, behind Hayden Bentley, only a few minutes between them. But that will be enough for me for Lachlan Bailey for side-by-side pro honours here this weekend in the 6:22. Greg Campbell should be that far away. Also, Daniel Challen and Lachlan Waters looks like on our device. Greg Campbell, congratulations to the GRC Motorsport team. Rylan Burt in the car this weekend with Greg. He's come in nice and hot. Likewise, Lachlan Waters, I was hit to say to keep a close eye on him over the course of the weekend. He's jumped nearly 2 minutes on Greg Campbell. So I expect that to be a nice and quick lap time. So Greg Campbell goes 57.25 to finish in 7th spot. So just to repeat, Bo Robinson, has provisionally claimed the 2025 KMC Wheels St George 399 over his brother by just 28 seconds. Travis Robertson, Jared Percival further back in third, ran out the podium. Brent Smoothie, Hayden Bentley, all of our all-wheel drive machines, Lachlan Bailey, Greg Campbell, and currently Brett Comiskey. That was such a good lap there for Lachlan Waters, a 55.33. Put that in perspective. Hayden Bentley did 54.49, so pretty much on pace with our couple of our extreme four-wheel drives. Dropped that couple of laps yesterday. Looks like Daniel Challen's still moving. Scotty Garver, Jack Livingston, so our side-by-side pro competitors expected to enter. .647. Scotty Garver having a nice first outing. Jack Livingston likewise here in St George, and Daniel Challen, who is around that 82-83 kilometre mark now. So sort of a handful of side-by-sides. Nick Burt, Tommy Darlington. And Rob Knight, who are heading towards the checkered flag. Fortunate news there for Kai Camilleri in the Jimco. The only one of our competitors there in that sort of top 10 positions, it looks like, is not going to make the checkered flag today. So there you go, it's a bit of news. Looks like Daniel Challen has stopped about 4 Ks from the finish. So hopefully Challen can get back out on to the circuit. 4 kilometres. Done all the hard work. He had dramas yesterday. Well and truly in the mix for the side-by-side championship this year, with the big one, the Kalgoorlie Desert Race, coming up at the end of October. Doesn't this make the championship battle that even more exciting? Because the brothers are literally going to fight it out for that #1 plate for 2026. And I must add, Jared Percival will definitely be in the mix. Parker's red hot crack out here. He's ready for a cold one. He's just worked his way nicely around that stump. The right of our site, you can see them laying around everywhere out there in the back of the complex. There's one man that knows the track better than anyone. It is the 701, Hank Parker. Thanks again to all our friends here at the St George area. Mark Robbo Robinson, Paul McCulloch, Eddie Bowman, Leslie Tatum, Justin, of course, Hank Parker, for all their work. Daniel Challen, unfortunately, it's like he's still moving again, so that's good news. Moving again. Just down here for our outright podium presentations with our third place getters, all the way from Perth, WA. Mate, Jared Percival, tremendous effort. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. Really fun weekend. Enjoyed the track. Good challenge yesterday, something brand new, but cut up a little bit today and a bit more defined and made it a little bit easier to pick and read everything. But really happy with the whole weekend.
And as you said, the car performed flawlessly once again. That's a couple of really strong finishes now, back to back, and on the Kalgoorlie.
Yeah, definitely. The car's been great, to be honest. It's been a bit of a nice learning curve the last couple of years and just keep getting quicker and quicker and trying to keep up with these trucks.
And Josh, great weekend, mate.
Yeah, it was great, mate. Thanks to Jared and Dave and the whole team for bringing me along. Big journey from WA, but all the sweet to get on the podium. So congrats to the Robbo boys. They're just next level, and congrats to Jared as well.
No worries. There we go. Our third place getters at the KMC Wheels St George 399 for 2025. Jared Percival and Josh Howard. Now I'd like to call in out second place getters for the weekend. Travis Robinson and Paul Curry. Well done, mate.
Cheers, Bus.
Continuing a tremendous season to date. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been good. Can't thank the boys enough. Everyone that helps, there's plenty of them, but Drew and Nick sort of spearhead the whole thing, so appreciate everyone.
Now the championship heads to home soil, Kalgoorlie. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, it should be a good event, that, so we'll work out the points and that and see what the game plan is for that.
Paul, good weekend, mate.
It was a good weekend. It's really good track, really developed well into a great off-road track.
Now that's your second start here in St George, the first and the second. It can't get much better.
Yeah, well, look, the whole year, these 1-2 things, we can get used to this, so but it's been good.
There we go. So second place, the St George 399, Trav Robinson and Paul Curry. Now we're calling our 2025 champions, and back to the ORC top spot, Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt. Bo, mate, tremendous effort, clean all weekend, and like you said, managed it from day dot, and here we are, 1-2 again.
Oh, it's good, yeah, it's a good event. It was just a good weekend. We could get used to these sort of finishes. It's been a long time since we've had clean runs, either of us, and to both be doing it at the same time was good. And obviously, Cow's going to be a good event, and obviously it's technically our home event, even though it's still 6 or 7 hours away. But can't wait for that, and just another 1-2, be right.
Another massive weekend for the team. Hardy, how'd you go, mate? Another solid weekend in the Navigator seat.
Yeah, I get the good job done. I show up and everyone that's standing over there, like the 6-7 guys over there, Drew and his crew and Andy and Jimmy, and they get the hard jobs. I just swan in and out and rub his makeup on and get his lip gloss and keep him comfy in the car and whatever you want. If you want to call out for Paw. Yeah, we have a lot of fun in there, and it's a good result, finally.
And so the championship literally was going to go down to the wire now, Kalgoorlie. There'll be no different setup. Just head back home and big prep and do it again.
Yeah, no, we're just same deal. And I was just saying before that the sport's got a funny way of sorting itself out anyway. So we'll just make sure Trav and I will just do the same thing. We'll just chip away at it, and boys will do a good job on the car as usual. And I'm sure it'll just fall one way or the other. And hopefully it's just at the end of the day, hopefully it's one of us two, and there's nothing weird happens.
There we go. Our 2025 KMC Wheels St George 399 champions, Bo Robinson and Shane Hutt.